Hello everyone, Chris Campbell here in the shop this evening. We're working on a very old regulator clock. It was brought in by the customer. It needs a pendulum and some other work done to it. Right here on the front we're missing a piece of wood, so I'm going to make a piece and put that in. This is where you would raise it up to start the pendulum. First thing that we're going to do is go ahead and remove the movement and address those issues. I'll go ahead and and I'm going to take the screws and just place them here inside. Alrighty, so here's the movement. I've got some parts over here. One of them that I need. So the hammer came off, and so what we've got to do now is reattach the hammer. And so let's see which way that one is. So I'm just gonna okay. So it goes on like so. Now we'll test it again. Perfect. Okay. So it also needs a suspension spring, so I'm going to go ahead and make one of those, and we're going to install this using epoxy. And they do not want it serviced or cleaned, they just want those repairs and the pendulum orders. So I've checked out everything here. Everything looks good. There's no worn gears. We have plenty of end shake. That's good. The main springs are good and tight. Alright. The governor fan is good. Alright, so that's good there. Alrighty. So this is a regulator clock, and it is made by, let's see if I can find a maker's mark. E. Ingram Clock Company, so that is a well-known clock. That's good to know. I do not like this wire, so I'm going to end up cutting that wire, because it's going to eventually get in the way of the workings. So I don't want to snap anything else. I'll tell you what, we'll just take it off from here. There we go. Okay. The crutch is also bent, and as you can see here, it's really deformed. It should just be a straight line and then curve down, not bent like that. So I'm going to address that as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the permanent installation of the the hammer, make the suspension spring, and I'll show you how we make that, and I'll order the pendulum, and hopefully by the time I do the next video, the pendulum should be in. So here we go. Alright everybody, we're back. So I was able to find a a pendulum for this particular clock. This is the same time period as the movement. The movement is from around 1910. The pendulum here is in 1912, so it's in that same time period, and it's the correct weight. for this particular clock. And now we just need to determine our drop. And so I'm going to use my dial calipers. Alright, so I'm going to take a few measurements from center post down here. Okay, I'm going to write that down. That's 154.7 millimeters. And now I'm going to measure from here to the crutch. 35 exactly millimeters. Okay. And from our escapement wheel, that's 84.8 millimeters. Okay. So this is a virgin or new suspension spring. I make these by hand here in the shop. And we have the suspension flat or spring up here at the top and the little hold clip. So now I'm going to measure and mark. Alright, from here that's 1524, okay. Actually, I'm going to hold it like this. And I'm going to make a small mark or scribe. Okay. Again, we had 58. And that is 58. So I'll put it on the scribe mark there. Okay, so there we go. So now, when this is in place, I'll get my line marked up, and it should be right here. Now we will cut the wire. I like to do it soft so it doesn't break. And now making sure that it is bent into the right direction that we need it to be bent. Alright, so here. And I'm going to grip this here. And now we're going to shape it. Okay. And that is our hook. So now we have our pendulum and the suspension spring. So we'll go ahead and install this onto the crutch. And this is the part here, sometimes it can be a little tricky. Let's see. Sometimes these get a little closed up tighter than they should be, and you have to open them back up. There we go. Alright, so that is looking good. And as you can see, even without the pendulum installed, it is actually ticking away. So I'm going to turn it around this way. So that's already a good sign. And it's actually in beat. which is really surprising because we haven't even made the adjustments to the crutch here. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and install this back in the clock case, put it in on a test stand afterwards, and make sure that it runs properly. I am going to go ahead and oil it. That way that it will at least have oil. The customer does not want it serviced or cleaned. So this is the next best step that I can do. Put some on the mainspring arbors, center post. Okay. So we have made the new suspension spring and got a new pendulum for this particular clock. So we're almost ready to wrap this one up. So stay tuned.